welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking about owning a car in Ireland. So in Ireland, if you're not fortunate enough to be living in bigger cities like Dublin, Cork, Galway, Limerick, you should probably own a car. So if you're living in countryside like Sligo, Kilkenny, Carlow, Wexford and all these places, you probably need to have a car, because in all this countryside the transportation systems is really bad. The transportation system in these countryside are really bad. You can literally have a bus that covers the whole of, let's say if you take for example Carlo, you can have one bus per hour. So if you're working shift, like if you're a nurse, if you're a doctor, or if you're working in any of these jobs that demand you to be working shifts, you can afford not to have a car in Ireland. So that should be one thing you should think about if you're coming to Ireland and you're going to be working shift, or you're going to be working late at night, because there are a lot of jobs. If you're working in restaurants, some restaurant closes really late, some close at like 1 or 2, and most bus or most Irish transportation stop working after midnight. So if you're working a job that is meant to be open till like 1, 2, if you're working in a pub, if you're working in restaurants, if you're working in like shift jobs and all of this stuff, you actually need a car in Ireland. And to own a car in Ireland is extremely expensive. So I'm going to go through the whole expenses you should incur while owning a car in Ireland. So first of all, if you don't need to have a car, or if you don't need to own a car in Ireland, you should never get a car in Ireland, because owning a car in Ireland is a big issue on its own. So if you're privileged enough to live in Dublin, if you're privileged enough to live in some part of Cork, some part of Limerick, some part of Galway, I actually advise you to not get a car in Ireland. Don't even think of getting a car in Ireland if you're living in these big cities. But if you're someone that's not going to be living in all of these big cities in Ireland, it's 100% advisable to get a car, because you can go to work, you'll be getting taxis every single day, and to get a taxi in Ireland is really expensive. So it's not like different countries that you can get an Uber. There isn't any Uber in Ireland. There used to be, but there's no more Uber in Ireland. So you just get like My Taxi, which is now called free now, and it's really expensive. Just to get a taxi for like a 15-minute journey, you'll be paying like 20, 25 euros, 30 euros, depending if there was traffic or not, or if there's snow, or if there's like, depending on a lot of different situations. So all of these make people to get a car. I lived in Ireland for like 6 years without having a car, but that's because I didn't have a job back then. But once I had the professional job, I tried going to work without having a car, and that couldn't work at all, because I was doing shifts as well. So yeah, there's a lot of expenses that comes to having a car. The first one is having a car in the first place. So the prices of cars have gone north, they have skyrocketed in the past 12 months. Since this Russia and Ukraine crisis started, the prices of cars have gone really high, so most people can't even afford to buy just the car in the first place. And after even buying the car, because you can buy cars now with like a lot of different payment methods, you can pay every month, weekly payment, monthly payment and all of that. So you can still afford to get a car if you want to, but it will be a big chunk of your budget gone just in getting a car, because the cheapest car you can find in Ireland nowadays will be maybe from like 3,000 to 5,000. Then it can go up to like 100, 200, 300,000 euros. So depending on what car you're getting. So yeah, the first one is, as I said, the price of the cars in Ireland are more expensive compared to different European countries. Some people go to Northern Ireland, even though Northern Ireland is still kind of Ireland, to get cars in Northern Ireland to come back to Ireland, because the cars in Northern Ireland are way cheaper compared to the cars in the southern part of Ireland, or the UK, Switzerland, Germany. They have way cheaper cars there. The second reason is, after having your car now, if you didn't have your car in Ireland, you have to change the registration plate to the Irish one, which is money. So there's a website that you can go on that and change it. If you got a car in like Paris or France, you can change the registration plate to the Irish ones, which I will link a video on how the Irish registration plate looks like. Then after doing that, the next step is to get an insurance. So getting an insurance in Ireland is one of the highest expenses when it comes to getting a car. So if you're like getting an insurance depends on your profession. So if you're working night shift like myself, your insurance is usually higher because they know after coming back from a night shift, you're probably not like fully at ease, like you won't be thinking of what to do. So most accident happen from like people that came back from night shift. So all of this is included in your insurance plan, because if you work in night shift, you're prone to have an accident compared to someone that's working day shift. So if you're a doctor, nurse, and all this shift work that you probably need a car for, your insurance is usually higher than someone that doesn't work shift. And if you're living in a certain part of the country, so if you're living in like dangerous part of the country, insurance company don't want to insure your cars because they know they'll be paying money every month or every week for your car to be in good shape and condition. So getting an insurance depends on all of these factors. So you can get an insurance from 1,000 from 1,000 euros to even 10,000 euros a year, just because of all of these different factors. Your location of where you're going to be parking your car, the location of where you're living, the job you're doing, the amount of money you're earning, and a lot of different factors that make your insurance be higher. And surprisingly, women pay less insurance compared to men. Yeah, women pay less insurance compared to men. I don't know if it's sexist, or I don't know if it's just because women drive like more carefully and all of that, but women pay less insurance in Ireland compared to men. But insurance in Ireland is so expensive. It's like the highest, after getting the car, the second highest is the insurance. Then after that, you've got something that's called NCD. So if your car is 5 years old and above, you have to get an NCD. That's just to make sure your car is in good check. That the NCD, you go to this NCD center, they check the car, they check your wheel, they check if everything is okay, if your car is in service. NCD is actually good because it's to make sure your car is roadworthy. So make sure if you take your car today, you can drive from here to Galway, from here to Dublin with no issue. So yeah, and NCD isn't that expensive. It's usually 50 to 55 euros, so that's one of the cheapest. Then after having an NCD, the next stuff you need for your car is you need to get a road tax or a motor tax. So this one, every single one have to have a motor tax and an insurance. So a motor tax, it doesn't matter if your car is like bought today or if your car is 1 year old, 2 days old, 10 years old. Everyone has to have a road tax and an insurance. So a road tax as well is not that expensive. So depending on your car, if your car is old, if your car is like 10 years old and above, your road tax is usually higher because your car emits a lot of like fossil fuel and all of that. But if you've got a newer car, like let's say you've got a car that was manufactured from like 2015 to like 2022, or from like 2020 to 2022, your motor tax is usually less because your car is new, the emission is clean. And the good thing is, if nowadays a lot of people are getting Tesla, people get Tesla, which is an EV, electric cars. So if you have any electric cars, you don't have to pay for this. So electric cars don't have to pay for this. And electric cars, well, the insurance for electric cars are usually cheaper. And the final one is the maintenance. So if you have a car, as you know, cars are like women, you have to maintain them. So you have to change the oil if you don't have an EV. So that's a good thing with an electric car. You don't need to change oils, you don't need to go for like maintenance and all of that. But for normal cars that most people use in Ireland, which aren't EVs, they're just like normal manual cars, like you have to change like the filters, the oil filters, you have to change a lot of stuff. You have to like put in oil, you have to change the wheels. If it's in the winter, you put like a solid winter kind of wheels. You have to change a lot of stuff. Then if it's not EV as well, don't forget about filling your car up with like petrol or diesel. So that's a chunk of money. As you know, in the past couple of months, the price of this stuff have gone high due to still the same stuff, the Russian and the Ukraine crisis. So the price of fuel, that's diesel and petrol, is just skyrocketing every single day, and that's a big chunk of money as well when it comes to owning a car in Ireland. So before owning a car in Ireland, think first before doing it. Don't just rush because maybe your mates, your friends has a new BMW or a new Rolls Royce and you want to have a car as well. Just always think before you do stuff in Ireland. And owning a car in Ireland, apart from all of this, you get like parking fine if you're parked in the city center and you don't, because if you live in the city center, if your house is in the city center, you usually get a parking permit. So this is like a disc that you put on your car to let the person that finds you to know that, yeah, your car is like your car has the right to be parked where it is. But if you don't have that parking permit that allows you to park in the city center, you get fined, and you can get fined from like 20 to 150 euros. Sometimes you even get clamped. They clamp the wheel of your vehicle that you can't use until you call the clamping company to take it off. So there's all of these expenses that comes with owning a car, and if you don't have a well-paid job, you'll be struggling from owning a car and doing all of the other stuff. As you know, I've done a video about high accommodation, like high housing in Ireland, high like utilities like electricity, gas, and all of that. So all of this put in place, you'll be struggling. So yeah, that was just a short video to let you know that before owning a car in Ireland, always think twice. If you loved the video, like. If you didn't like the video, you can dislike. Just don't forget to do all of this stuff, and please keep liking, keep supporting me for more videos, and see you next time.